You are now tuned in to Power Podcasts, the Empower Hour. Peace and blessings, beautiful souls. I am Brandi L. Bates, author of Moonshine for the Soul, The Art of Grind, and many other books. I'll be your host for tonight. You can find me on Twitter at Soledad Francis and on Instagram at Brandi is Winning. Most of these podcasts can be found archived on YouTube. Hashtag Power Podcasts, but please listen to them while they still have all of their spirit and vitality by subscribing to us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and or brandybates.podomatic.com. How are you modeling your life? Oftentimes, things only happen to us when we're out of bounds or outside the confines of normalcy. Things only happen to us when we're out of bounds. What have you been infusing yourself with? It doesn't cost you anything to like this podcast or to subscribe or share, right? Just putting that out there. Doesn't cost you a dime. But this is about being less careful of convention. This is about throwing off reluctance to be seen as your rough draft, as starting from the bottom, as a beginner, as not having the answers, not having the solution, not having resolution. In fact, not knowing what the hell you're doing at all. This is about throwing off those needs to be accepted, throwing off the reluctance to be seen as overlooked, washed up, falling off. Because sometimes other people are better than you. Let's start there. Sometimes you lose because you were outworked. You weren't as good. The other person was just better. They did it better, had more experience, because they've put in more work, more blood, sweat, and tears. But sometimes it's because, their daddy might have more pull than yours. Their mother may have introduced them to the game when they were in diapers and training wheels, right? Sometimes it's because there is nepotism. Sometimes it is because of privilege. But this is about learning how to operate in the face of chaos, calamity, and collapse. How do you operate? How do you move in the face of chaos, calamity, and collapse? Shout out Sahil from overseas across the pond. I want to thank you for your love donation. Appreciate and love you. Shout out everyone who has ever sown into Power Podcasts. Whether it's a nickel, whether it's $1, whether it's $20, whether it's writing a nice, kind blurb and a review, or just sharing it, or just, letting it sit in your spirit and sprout wings. I just want to let you know I appreciate you and I feel you. We're learning right now how to build failure into the game plan and into our storylines, because it's guaranteed to include you in all things. I promise you, no matter what you do, failure will find you at some point or another. Some people believe if you fail fast, you get to the top quicker. Some people believe if you fail more often, or more often than others, you end up getting to the finish line a little faster and in a better condition. But one thing I can promise you and guarantee you, you will experience some form of failure. Some form of failure in marriage, some form of failure in school, some form of failure in life, some form of failure financially, some form of failure in your friendships, some form of failure in the relationships with your family. There are so many people right now listening to this. You haven't spoken to your parents in years. Someone listening to this, you haven't spoken to your children. You haven't spoken to family because you live a certain kind of way and they live a certain kind of way, and you guys just don't cross paths anymore. I'm not here to judge you, but I say that to say failure is going to familiarize itself with you. And for some of you, these are and will be the best of times. For some of you, these have been the worst of times. Learn from the mistakes of others. Okay? You can't live long enough to make all of the mistakes. So this is a great time to watch people make mistakes on a macro level and on a micro level. Study other people's financial mistakes. Study other people's mistakes they make in business. Study other people's mistakes they make in their career moves. Study other people's mistakes in how they move and operate with relation to people and their community, right? There's so much wisdom there. If you don't like to read books or you don't like to study the theory of things, you're going to learn it the hard way. But I would rather learn it the easier way, where I don't have to have my money fucked up and I don't have to have my feelings invested, right? But there's wisdom in knowing when to take chances which build character, and chances that will drastically affect your future. You know, I can always tell when a motherfucker ain't never been through nothing. See, I grew up amongst the dying breed. Like, I believe none of us has lived to see the kind of level of upheaval that we're watching right now and observing and living through. But several of us, you know, we lived through the Reagan era, the Reaganomic period. We lived through the crack epidemic. You know, some of you are just now seeing the opioid epidemic. But if you ask me, the opioid epidemic has nothing on the crack epidemic. But, you know, we like to politicize and racialize certain drugs, and we like to judge and point fingers at people who sin different and their addiction is different. But addiction is addiction. Whether you're addicted to sugar or whether you're addicted to crack, whether you're addicted to cocaine, whether you're addicted to porn, addiction is addiction, right? But I got to see what it's like when people who are used to living a certain quality of life and a certain status in life fall. I've seen what poverty looks like and feels like. And it's not cute, it's not fun, it's not virtuous, it's painful. There's nothing of integrity in poverty. There's nothing virtuous of being poor and unable to feed your children, or unable to wear shoes that don't have holes in them. Okay? Right now, we are all in the middle of a foreign storm. We're all in the middle of a form of wilderness. No one currently living has lived through a global pandemic. Now, we've lived through seeing HIV/AIDS detonate whole communities. We've lived and we've seen, the Iraqi war, and for some have seen the collapse and the fall of the Soviet Union. Some of us have seen, Desert Storm, but global pandemic? Global? And the reality of it is that this pandemic isn't causing so much havoc physically to the physical bodies of everyone. Yes, hundreds and thousands of people have died, but hundreds of thousands of people will die anyway, right? Whether it's malaria or, and it's not funny. Ain't shit funny. Let's start there. Ain't shit funny about it. But, people are going to die anyway. But the after effects, the aftershocks, what it's doing to the economy, what it's doing to people's blood pressure, what it's doing to people's stress, what it's doing to crime, what it's doing at the same time simultaneously to both the stock market, Wall Street, and Market Street, all at the same time, right? A global pandemic at the same time as a civil rights movement, and so much drastic revolutionary change and events. This is the motherfucking event horizon, the Knee Plus Ultra 2020 clear vision, right? Stay with me. We're all throwing shit at the wall. We're all throwing shit at the wall and trying to figure out what can work. I don't care who you are. The business owners, small business owners, large business owners. See, listen, I've lived just long enough to see several large franchises and chains get taken under over the years, over the decades. But when you start seeing big names that are racking in millions and billions of dollars, when you start seeing them filing for bankruptcy and shutting their doors and shuttering their establishments because the money is not coming in, that's writing on the wall. That's writing on the wall. You may think you balling and you doing good. Oh, that didn't affect me. Too bad for them, right? But if you have a business and there is no revenue, or that revenue slows up, you don't have a business, baby. You have a hobby. You have a pastime. We're all flying by the seat of our proverbial pants in some form. In some form. So again, even if it doesn't touch you directly, it touches you indirectly. It affects your cousins and your family members and co-workers and loved ones, right? This is bigger than wearing a mask. This is bigger than voter rights. This is bigger than lack of beds in ICU. As horrible as that sounds, whomever can pivot, adapt, evolve, and find a new way to do your thing will win, will survive. Going boundless. We're seeing a swift drop down into more and more of a cashless society each and every month. Each and every month. We're moving closer and closer. We're living less digital and more. I mean, it's getting to the point almost where now we perpetually live in cyberspace. What is the substance of your private thoughts? What you think about when you wake up in the morning, what you think about when you're trolling off to bed, what you think about while you bathe or shower, what you think about on your commutes or when you walk to the store. Jung reminds us, you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. We don't give a fuck about your philosophy. We don't give a fuck about what you're talking about. We're watching what you do. You will be judged based off of what you do and who you are. Not what you said, not how you speak, what you do. S.C. Laurie once wrote, "Breathe, darling. This is just a chapter. It's not your whole story." And going boundless means this. Remember to remember, this is just a passage. This is just a pit stop. This is just a temporary year among many years. That's why I love sitting outdoors and looking at nature and watching the stars and the trees. Observing and studying ancient things, because they teach you about the true lessons about time. And how nothing under the sun is new. It's new to you. It's not new. It's maybe done differently. Maybe has a facelift, but there's nothing new under the sun. Losing teaches you a lot. Taking L after L after L molds and fashions you. Going boundless means, stay with me, learning how to control both sides of your nature. The masculine and the feminine. The light and the dark. The higher mind and the lower self. You gotta know all the neighborhoods. See, and a lot of people, they know they have a dark self. You know you have a dark side. And you know that dark side can go real low. But a lot of us, we will try to avoid that dark side. We'll try to stay as far away from it as possible. We don't even want to deal with it. But I'm saying deal with it. Go into the darkness. Rediscover the gifts there. In the midst of everything that you've lost, what did you learn? Only then will you become completely boundless. Sometimes you bound up in belief, bound up in a mindset that's keeping you right where you are. And though that may be a safe place, it may feel comfortable and it may feel good and normal, it's not going to, you won't be able to maintain it where we're going. Sometimes the world will push your ass. You trying to maintain, you're like, okay, I'm doing good, I'm working, I'm getting my bills paid, all right, I'm not sick, I got my health, okay, wonderful. And then life out of the blue will just push your ass over the edge, like, okay, new problem, figure it out. That's where we are for a lot of people. Without consciousness and intelligence, the world would lack meaning. But I promise you can find meaning in everything. You can find meaning in everything. Understand that people at any given time are doing the best they can from their level of awareness. And you might think they know better than that, or you know, he's doing this on purpose, or she could do better than that. In your mind. But you're not living in their shoes. You're not living with their circumstances. You're not living with the things they don't talk about. Most people are doing the best they can with what they know. And although some people know more and hence do better or go further or take different avenues, I was saying to somebody, the only reason why I'm not, in the hood, I grew up with gangsters and hustlers and drug dealers. And there are people who I went to school with, and some of those people have gone on to, become great, everything from celebrities to Harvard graduates. And then there's people I know that are just still on the block. There are people I know who became drug addicts, who became crackheads. There are people who had 13 children. There are people who are just still where they always have been. And the only difference between me and them is that I just made slightly different decisions. We all had the same environment. We all had the same schooling. We all ate the same things. We pretty much drank the same water. But certain people made different decisions, went down different avenues. That's the only difference. But those decisions can mean you end up so much better off or worse off. The only way to be prepared for where you're going is to become totally and completely unfuckwittable. Anything keeping you in comfort, anything keeping you in your comfort zone, I promise you, baby, is keeping you stagnant. Period. I don't care how good it feels. You think it feels good. It's not good to not be able to move and rise up. There is someone listening to this and you want to be famous. You want to be famous. You have it on your vision board and you want to be in that limelight. You don't voice this often or loud, but in your heart of hearts, you crave the limelight and the awards. You're hungry for the recognition and adulation that only comes with big star power, big results, big fame. But the truth of the matter is, you are not ready. You ain't ready. It takes courage to be in the limelight. For real, for real. You think you want to be a politician. You think you want to be the head of, CEO of, you fill in the blanks. You think you want to be on those charts. And I'm not saying you don't. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to want those things. But understand that in order to have that, you have to have thick skin. You have to know how to read contracts. A lot of people that are getting fucked over right now is because they didn't read the fucking contract. Are sharks and people who scam people and get over on people, are they wrong? Absolutely. Absolutely. But nobody can consistently fuck you over unless you are bent over allowing them to fuck you over. Okay? You have to know, you have to understand the business aspect of your calling and know how to defend yourself when you swim with sharks. You have to know how to survive in the wilderness. And so that's why certain things, everything is not for everybody. And that's why certain people sink and others swim, because they understand what it takes and what it requires to survive. And again, that's not good or bad. It's a basic principle that a lot of people lose sight of. To be in certain positions and to exist in certain communities and to live certain ways of life, you have to be made of a certain substance. You don't just end up there. Success in all its forms. There is no success that's accidental. That shit had to be intentional. And it requires certain things. Some people do it different. They get there a different way. But it required a certain substance. A lot of who you are is inherited. For some of us, we've inherited our appetite for sabotage and self-destruction. And some of us have a penchant for people-pleasing. From unwitting parents, starts there, right? Wanting to please your parents. A lot of you, what you do, you went to law school because your daddy wanted you to go to law school because he went to law school. A lot of you, you know, even down to, I mean, on a small level, a lot of people, a lot of women, you selling pussy because you saw your mama sell pussy. Let's go there. Just let's put it all out there. Don't get new on me. And that's passed to you from Big Mama and Pawpaw. And that came from their daddy and their mama and the environment they grew up in. A lot of who you are is bound up in beliefs and mindsets and habits and ways of living and thinking that were passed down to you and inherited. Going boundless is stripping yourself of all the generational stuff, generational curses, proclivities. A lot of you guys, you're womanizers because you come from a womanizer. A lot of you are an alcoholic because your mother was an alcoholic. And really, it's written into the DNA in your chromosomes. Going boundless is stripping yourself of the habits which keep you stuck. Those addictions and personality flaws. And I really hate to call it a personality flaw, but for lack of a better term or word, those things that keep us either on the bottom, you know, low income, low aim, low IQ, low emotional intelligence, low achievement. Can't pick up a book, won't pick up a book if they paid you. It baffles me how few people actually read. And again, I'm not saying, you know, people who read are better than those who don't, but it's like this. Listen, you're either going to learn this shit the hard way or you're going to learn it the easy way. And so when you read about it, you learn about people bumping their heads and being stupid. And you can say, okay, they did that, so that probably won't work if I do this because I look like them. And when that happened, you know, during that time, okay, and if I do it, yeah, I might get away. Okay, you follow me? You follow me. But if you don't read about it, you have to experience it like it's new. And you're more inclined to make the same mistake that most people make. Those things that keep us repeating history. Why are we still doing the same shit that our ancestors did in the 60s? Why are we still making the same mistakes as those who came before us made in the early 1900s? With all this technology and free internet, you have a supercomputer at your fingertips at any given time. There is no excuse to be stupid. There is no excuse to be stuck on dumb shit. None. Everyone who has ever started their own business or chose to go grassroots to be independent did so in part because you got tired of status quo, whatever that looks like. That doesn't work for you. Some of us got tired of being fucked. When you're seeing the checks of the people who sign your checks and you're realizing they're just paying you fucking peanuts, you get tired of being fucked. You get tired of being screwed. Tired of playing small. Tired of dumbing yourself down to fit in with monkeys. Who are you trying to please? Krishnamurti said to be well adjusted to a malnourished, sick society. What does that say about you? Open your ears to the ancestors. Our ancestors always try to give us warnings and red flags. And that's a different metaphysical talk for another day. But even having, wise elders they'll always try to hip you to game about certain failure and calamity when they see you heading in the wrong direction. And that's how you know they love you. They'll tell you to stay away from alcohol when you know your granddaddy and his daddy, along with your father, were all raging, angry alcoholics. You'll have that aunt that, says, well, baby, you may want to slow up on that, cause she sees the pattern. If mama got pregnant at 15 and her mama got pregnant at 15 and the past mothers all had to give up their education and their future dreams and hopes, prematurely at least, because they got pregnant at 15, will try to guide you to do something different. And sometimes that it comes in different ways. See, understand, blessings, especially hidden blessings, often come disguised. Sometimes they come in the form of calamity. They may feel like the end of the world, or a breakup, or an accident. But really, on the other side of that, you end up so much better off. That was a blessing in disguise. You can hear them as the inner voice sometimes. As that voice in your head when you're about to do some shit that you know damn well you have no business doing. We know when we doing dirt. We know when we're doing dirt. You know when you're wrong. You know when you're wrong. You just hope you won't get caught. You hope no one finds out. You hope. Your ancestors will always show you what you need to see, even when you're not ready to see it. And for many of us, we will never see certain things because we're not ready to see it. Going boundless means you get past mere physical attraction to a man or a woman, right? So often I hear people say things, I wouldn't date a man if he anything less than 6 feet. I can't date him. Do you realize how stupid you sound? Do you realize how foolish you sound? A man's heart and personality and character is not bound up in his height. There are many great men. They might be 4 feet tall. That doesn't have nothing to do with the package under, this is another show. That don't have nothing to do with the package under the belt. That doesn't have anything to do with the size of his bank account. That has nothing to do with how well he'll treat you and love you. You're worried about the wrong shit. Get past physical attraction to a man or a woman, but you grow more attracted to those who push you to be better. You're attracted to those who push you to do better, to have more, to have things, to want a better quality of life, and are willing to walk with you to go there and get it. You become more attracted to the souls who tickle your aura with theirs. Beautiful souls. Beautiful souls. Sometimes the package may not look, all that elegant, but inside, the personality, the heart, their sense of humor, their vision, their presence, it becomes more about those twin flames who match our frequency. Listen, forever is a long time. And I only want the right people in my forever. I don't want nobody in my forever that's bringing me drama and bullshit or making me go through struggle and hardship. I want the people that are going to help make that forever look beautiful. Don't ever do anything that will last 50 seconds, but get you 50 years in prison or in bondage. Because understand, debt is bondage. Debt is another form of prison. When everything that comes in, it's gone before it comes in. That's a form of prison. Really sit with that. Going boundless is about getting away from your hometown, your familiar environment, your zip code, your area code. Nothing builds character like being forced to rely on your own instincts. When you got to figure shit out, because guess what? You can't go home to mommy or daddy or grandma or papa, and you got to figure this shit out. That helps you to go boundless faster, because you start realizing, you know what? I'm bigger than any of these problems. You fix your problems by fixing your thinking, by fixing your attitude, and by going boundless. So, but here's the caveat. As you age on this planet, you lose more and more of your energy, zest, zeal, effervescence, and your enzymes and cells begin to harden. Sometimes I look at my 2-year-old and I'm like, if I could bottle up this energy, baby, I would be balling. This energy, as soon as he wakes up, I mean, that energy is priceless. You begin to lose your so-called youthfulness. You begin to harden your outlook, and opinions start to get stale. You start hearing people as they age saying the most ignorant, dumbest shit. Because you really can't blame them. It's because they've lived so long in a certain habitual way of thinking and being and been around the same small. I can always tell when a motherfucker's never traveled nowhere, because they'll say something so stupid about another race of people. You know, when I was growing up in Southern California, it's nothing to, I went to school with Cambodians and Samoans and Tongans and Armenians and Ukrainians and people from, I mean, all over, and the culture is there. So you begin to get sensitive, and you see, okay, you know, most people are all the same. We all want the same things for ourselves, for our children, right? But you begin to harden, and that's why it's imperative to strike while the iron is hot. The power that allows you to be busy and productive, the power, to the energy to rear 3 children, to write books in the evening, to start a burgeoning business and still get up and go to work, get up in the morning, go run a lap, go run a mile. The energy, that energy of being able to get up and go to the gym and have breakfast and get the kids off to school and head into work for 8 or 9 hours, and then come home from that and go to evening classes working on your PhD or your master's. Are you with me? That will wane. You won't always have that hourglass figure. Baby, you won't always have those abs, those calves, those collarbones poking out, that bounce in your step. Being able to go to classes and then get up and go to work, then go to party, and you turning up, you drinking, taking shots, bounce around town, skate by on 2 hours of sleep, and still be able to do it all over again the next day. That's a superpower that will slowly wither, I assure you. I promise you, that beauty, it won't always get you in the door. Because it's not going to always look the way it looks today. You won't always look the way you look today. But what they can never take from you, this world can't take it, society can't take it, prison can't take it, failure can't take it, not age, nor time, nor circumstance, is your knowledge, wisdom, experience, your talents, and skills and gifts. Those only get better with time. All the best things, enduring substance, gets better with age. So it's mandatory that we learn to go boundless ASAP. ASAP. As soon as possible. Is biology destiny? And that's a legitimate question. Is biology destiny? As sure as we are born, we will eventually die. Okay, so what we do before and after that dash matters. The day you were born and the day that you die, the only thing that matters is what you do in between those 2 days. And what happens is a sophisticated blend of your genetics, what you're made of, your environment, your mindset, your thought world, your habitual action, what you do day in and day out. It's a blend of all of those things are going to ultimately determine how you look in the next 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, the next 15 minutes in many ways. And it's going to determine whether you go boundless or you stay bound up. Going boundless means waking those things that live dormant within you, because you got a lot of shit in you and it's dormant. That's why I love the ideal. Stay with me. I love the idea of the natal chart, of a birth chart. And I believe everyone should get their birth chart done. It's free online as long as you know what time you were born, the location you were born. And it's not so much on the astrological tip as it is the natal chart gives you a roadmap, if you will, of kind of what's likely to occur in your life over the course of a lifetime. So oftentimes you'll see things that seem to be contradictory, and they're not contradictory at all. It just is telling you these different things, although the paradox is that they seem like they're conflicting, they're all or both going to happen in your life over the course of a lifetime. And so you can be living a very specific way when you're in your 20s, and then your life look drastically different in your 40s and 50s. Anyone who you speak to who has ever obtained wealth, I mean real wealth, coming to some real money, and they started out on the bottom or poor or whatnot, they will tell you how dramatically and drastically their life changed. Now, we're not going to get caught up in the mindset and everything that happened and how it happened, because it happens different for different people. It happens different for different people. But the concepts and the principles behind it remain the same. Universally. I don't care if you are in the UK or if you're in Compton. Those principles are the same. There are universes besides our own, where all the choices you made in this life played out in alternate realities. And science has now proven that. I already knew the shit. A lot of us have already known it. But, we don't talk about it. And, sometimes science has to catch up. But the ancestors have always known this. They've told us. They embedded in the art. They've embedded it in the hieroglyphics. The concept is known as a parallel universe. And parallel universes, the concept is a facet of the astronomical theory of the multiverse. But in the meantime, you're on this planet and you require a certain delicate chemistry to breathe the atmosphere. So you need food, water, sunlight, and shelter. And no matter what your philosophy, you're experiencing the same thing we're all experiencing right now. Now, we all are looking at it from different vantage points, but we all looking at it. We're all experiencing this pandemic and the after effects. Like I said, it's not so much the virus that's the problem. It's all the shit that's happening because of it. And because of so many people ill-prepared, fearful, and just don't know what the fuck to do, right? And sometimes the only way you survive is by going boundless. Going boundless begins in the mind. Everything begins in the mind. That's what prayer is about. That's what meditation is about. That's what yoga is about. Going within. There are certain things within you that respond to certain geographic places on the map. Certain people, events, situations, and frequencies will speak to the inner you. The inner you. That's who I'm speaking to. I'm not speaking to a certain gender or political bent or race or class or nationality or religious following or school of thought, because I know that's all bullshit. I'm not taking away from it, but what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, we all want the same shit. At the end of the day, we all have hearts that are beating. And if we put everybody's heart under a microscope, you won't be able to tell who was the Democrat or the Republican or the conservative, or who was LGBT, or who was Indian, or who was, a redneck, or who was black, or you won't be able to tell any of that. You won't be able to tell the educational status. You may be able to tell, you have heart disease and this one has, some hypertension, but you won't be able to tell all of this bullshit we attach to ourselves. And those walls are coming down because we're going boundless. The world is going boundless. That's why more and more we're shedding these labels, and we're shedding these old, outdated, ancient, archaic mindsets. I'm speaking to that ancient, ageless entity within. The knower, the observer, the part of you that will never die. Someone said, heed these words. You who wish to probe the depths of nature, if you do not find within yourself that which you seek, neither will you find it outside. If you ignore the wonders of your own house, how do you expect to find other wonders? In you is hidden the treasure of treasures. We're all electric beings in an electric multiverse on this spinning rock. Vibrates so high that toxic people, toxic situations, and circumstances and events in your life recede. They fall back. If you train, everything can eventually be mastered and understood. The more you train, the easier it gets and the better you get. Improvement can only come through action, interaction, massive action, massive results. Getting results is all that matters in this world. People will only pay you money or attention if you garner results. We've got to get creative. More creative than you've ever been in life. Krishnamurti once wrote, self-expansion in any form, whether through wealth or through virtue, is a process of conflict, causing antagonism and confusion. A mind burdened with becoming can never be tranquil, because tranquility is not a result either of practice or of time. Tranquility is a state of understanding, and becoming denies this understanding. What you're looking for isn't out there. It's within. We're behind the ball, folks. We have so much work to do. And even if you have a lot of work to do, if you think of it as wonderful, enjoy the ride and enjoy and be grateful for the experience. If you feel it as wonderful, it will transform the energy. Thank you so much for listening. Again, it costs you nothing to like this, to subscribe, to share it, to drop a kind word. It doesn't cost you anything. But I appreciate you, and I appreciate you for giving me the time. Peace.